Chapter 3. The Grand Design. The children of Zacharias will never be asked to do more than they are capable of doing. Hieronymus Jeremiah, Capitulo 2. The island Elora constructed from an idea was beautiful. Nothing in her existence prior to the grand design prepared her for this moment. This was the substance of her dreams, flavored by her imagination, augmented by her individuality. She compared it with the other lands in the grand design. None came close to her creation in style, beauty, or grandeur. Among the fine details put together for the island destined to hold her people, she was proudest of the two mountains at the center. Both were riddled with caves, caverns, and corridors. The first was much taller, with two crests. The second mountain, on the other side of the narrow valley, was shorter, but with a much larger footprint and a fanciful summit that was flat like the palm of a hand, decorated by pillars of rock in the semblance of skeletal fingers reaching skyward. Halfway between this peak and the base was a grand plateau, and where it met the sides of the mountain, her people would discover the entrance to one of the networks of caves. The southwestern quadrant of the island was a massive tableland, higher than the rest of the island, with an impressive waterfall leading into a central lake. The largest network of caves was within the tableland, but not nearly as easy to gain access. Two large bays dominated the east. 3 separate ocean channels led to the bays, but only the middle channel held a safe approach through the many submerged rocks surrounding the island. The main island was ringed by hazardous waters, making it unappealing for those who might consider invading. The flowering fruit trees peppering the island were one of her gifts for the faithful, with unique species of butterflies and bees to pollinate the plentiful blossoms. Her most critical achievement was the way inhabitants of the neighboring island saw it as unimportant, small, and therefore not worth the effort to explore, particularly when they considered the potential risks to their ships. Once it was fully prepared, she needed to find the right sort of people to accept her as deity, who would live the edict she would give them. Without that, it was all for nothing, and it had to begin with a single man, a man willing to agree to the requirements placed before him. Finding a man to bestow her blessings upon was harder than she expected. So many of the men she happened upon were coarse, intemperate, motivated by sexual allure, and untrue to their word. She walked unseen through the markets in many of the bustling population centers ringing the inland sea. The dark souls of the seething throngs of people buffeted her from all sides. This interaction with humanity was a hazard she had not considered when she fought so hard to be part of the grand design. It was, however, a critical step. Her design could not move forward without the perfect man for her purposes. The man she was following impressed her with his intellect. Just as she considered selecting him for her grand design, she was halted by what she saw within him. His thoughts shifted towards sex. She could work with that. But as they grew specific, she was repulsed. No, this man would not work as the one to begin her experiment. She had time before she had to settle on one man for her grand design, but it was discouraging when finding the right man seemed impossible.
Perhaps you want more than any man can give.
Elora turned and saw it was Zenta walking next to her. Zenta, who had no people, no part of the grand design for many more human generations. They walked next to one another through the shopping district.
Maybe you're looking in the wrong place, or for the wrong type of man.
Elora stopped and gestured to another man she had considered much earlier and discarded.
See this man? He is strong of body, intelligent, but he will not work in my grand design. He lacks the qualities of character necessary for success. What is it you want or need then? Intelligence, strength, bravery, loyalty, and above all other things, integrity. He must be capable of the necessary belief to follow my commandments. Perhaps your search is too far from where you wish your progenitor to flourish. It may be the compatibility you seek requires proximity in addition to those other qualities.
Zenta's voice was earnest. Elora looked from the bright colors of the fabric vendors to the vendors of metals. Perhaps she should look closer to her land.
You are wise.
Elora thanked Zenta before moving her awareness from the eastern city to the region which held her island in the western half of the sea. She would choose one of the cities near her land, Anoxes or Chella or Palmyra. She was immediately aware of a ship passing close to her island. The ship was a merchant vessel, heavily laden with cargo and livestock, the Ankhamoon. She explored the hearts and minds of each man toiling on the ship. Most were unsuitable to her design. In addition to the men, a stowaway was hidden among the livestock, a woman. She was ready to move on when she realized there was another man on the ship. He was high up in the rigging, on the lookout for pirates, and was a large, imposing, physical man. He was illiterate, like most of the people of this era, but quite intelligent. Elora took the time to read from his mind his story. The important elements began exactly 5 years ago. He called himself Zacharias.